Part 36, how I became an international smuggler, worked my way through the federal prison system in the United States, the people I met, the lessons I learned, the price that I would pay. And it wasn't a sentence, let me just say that. So here we go. So the prosecutor had just given an Academy Award speech which made me out to be Pablo Escobar. There's no question. It was crazy. So it was our turn. It was pretty... I was going through the document as best as I could. I was going through the document and just reading. They had it all absolutely spot on. So their case was... they had basically every single trip. They were so accurate in the trips themselves. It was crazy. When that discovery is handed over, you do have to disclose how they got that information. There it was. Mr. Boeing Man. Mr. Boeing Man himself. It's crazy to think that these guys had set this lawyer up with me. One, I'll get into this, but the lawyer hadn't been paid for yet. And two, the fact that everyone had the discovery, nobody's telling me this shit. There's no honour amongst thieves, and that's what I'll say about this world is, don't shit me that we're all brothers or we'll be there for each other, and for one we go down together. Bullshit. They will lie and cheat to get what they need to get, and these buggers knew that he'd done it. But anyway, there it was. But what was fascinating with was you get to see everything. Let's get into the court part, and then I'll get into reading the discovery, because I actually got that afterwards, and I got some time to go over it. So in the court part, we just go through that I wasn't going to apply for bail because there's no chance of me getting bail. That just wasn't on the cards. We weren't going to apply for bail. And then what actually happens is the judge reads out all of your charges against you. Obviously, the state have had their little shot at you, and then he's going to read out the consequences involved with 36 counts of smuggling. And I just remember standing up, and he's reading this summary out to me, and he said at the end, the one thing I do remember is he said, you're looking at a minimum of 80 years and a maximum of 100, I believe. At the time I was 31 or 32, and I just thought I'm going to be 110, and then I even thought a good time. I thought I'm going to be 100 by the time. If you've never been in court and heard that read out, it puts a fear of God into you. There's no question there. I remember sitting down, and my lawyer said, Tim, you've got to stand up. It's not over yet. And I said, look, my legs aren't working right now. I just got told it's a minimum of 80 years and a maximum of 100. He said, don't worry about it. They're just trying to scare you. And I said, mission accomplished. He goes, just stand up. And I said, fuck him. Let's you and I talk. He goes, it'll be over in a second. Anyway, I stood back up, heard the charges, and then he said, I'll come back into the back later and I'll have a chat with you. If I can say the next 2 hours, it took him 2 hours for him to come and have a chat, because obviously they got other cases. Then I get called into a little room, and he goes, look, settle down. This is how the process works. It's about isolation and fear. Well, they had really worked their way. The US government had really worked their way and had accomplished both of those goals. But he said, we're going to work through it. Right now, this is what... And then we started going through the discovery. So, this is what they actually had. Is remember back many episodes ago, and if you've only just tuned in, you're going to have to go back to the first episode and listen to it all through. But remember when the second landing crew, not the first landing crew, the second landing crew on his first run got popped. We didn't know that he'd gotten popped. And then the next day, remember I said that I went and talked to the broker, and he goes, don't worry, all the boys are out on bail. Nobody said a word. Bullshit. Bullshit. Because it is all there. So they got pulled over by a sheriff. The sheriffs pulled him over in a convoy. And look, I will say I was spotted. The whole thing fell apart that morning. Remember that spidey senses? I shouldn't go. We should push the chopper back. Remember that? I got spotted. Part of it was my fault, but I'm going to show some lessons in here. So we went way too late. Everyone, you're only as strong as the weakest link. Trust me, I had a bunch of plastic links in there that were acting like titanium, but certainly we weren't too late. I wanted to pull out, but everyone said, even this moron down there, no, let's make some money. So the fuel wasn't ready. They weren't ready. I didn't want to go, but against my better judgment, I went. And guess what? Heading across the airport authorities, phoned the US authorities and said, there are a couple blokes in a chopper that didn't even have enough money for gas, or you might want to just watch them. And I don't know how it came about, or whether it was a drone, or just a plane up high, but they do have footage of me coming down the mountain or coming across and just tracking that helicopter. So it was from a long way up, but they did track me. And they tracked me all the way to that drop point and seen the drop. Shit happens. Look, it's unfortunate, but this guy had gotten away with it 5 years earlier, running it in boats. So, like I've said in previous things, sometimes the chickens come home to roost. You got away with it for 5 years. You want to dip your toe in and take a second lick of the ice cream. And guess what? The sun came out and melted that thing down to nothing. You were just sitting in a pile of shit. But you didn't want to sit in that pile of shit alone. You wanted to bring a few of us in there with you. So I got spotted coming down the mountain in the drop. Apparently, the surveillance, whether it was a drone, whether it was a plane up high, whether it was a friggin' satellite, but the imaging has got me coming down. Remember in one of those ones I said I was doing the big turns, and they figured that was all warning or made up, like I was this highly skilled covert operation, Top Gun, the best helicopter pilots that the underworld could produce. I was just a kid from central Queensland with two big ones of this and not much. And that's how it ended up. You got to stay tuned for the next one. I'm running out.